Hello. So we are in my car right now. Today I'm going to take you out and I'm going to show you some convenience stores in Japan. And I wanted to do this because we're going to be talking about what you are drinking on a daily basis. Now, I'm just using my cell phone to do this today, so it's not necessarily going to be the greatest quality video or anything like that. But I do want to talk to you about what you are drinking. And I wanted to do this by showing you some typical convenience stores in Japan. And I want to show you the options that are available in terms of what you can purchase as a beverage. And in Japan, what you'll notice is that if you compare it to the United States, certainly the United States and many other countries, there is a greater variety of healthy drinks that are available even in a convenience store. If you think about, for instance, if you go to a convenience store in the United States, you expect that it's not going to be healthy food. You basically expect to walk in and see a bunch of junk food and soft drinks. But in Japan, it's a different concept. And what you'll see when I show you is that you can go into a typical convenience store here and you will see various options when it comes to beverages. Of course, you will have the soft drinks, but you will also have other things that are quite healthy for you to drink. And this is a huge difference between living here in Japan and living in the United States. It's just the availability of relatively healthy drinks. So let's take you around and let's show you exactly what I'm talking about today. And we're going to jump into it. Stay tuned. So before I take you out into the town and show you some convenience stores, just let me introduce myself. I am Mark Johnson, the founder of Bounce Pep, bringing you a fit and flourishing future. You know that I'm also the youngest son of Bill Johnson. Happy to have you here in my car. Here you are in my car with me. And I just want you to go ahead and subscribe if you have not subscribed, because I love to get new subscribers and I want to have you on board. And also go to www.bouncepep.com, scroll down to near the bottom of the homepage and just subscribe to our email list, please. And that way you will stay in the loop. So the first place that we're going to stop at is called Family Mart. This is a convenience store that is widespread in Japan. And in fact, all of the ones that I'm going to show you today are fairly widespread in Japan. Let's get out of the car and let's check out what's going on here. You'll notice it's very busy. We're in the middle of the day around lunchtime. So there are a lot of people here. And I want to emphasize that these convenience stores are all over the place. And they're open typically 24 hours per day. You can come in, get whatever you need, but it's quite different from the US in the fact that when you come in here, you'll have, of course, the typical junk food, but you'll also have healthier options. So I'm going to show you typically what that would look like. So let's go ahead and see what we have in terms of drinks. So these are the drinks. You can see that you have your typical soft drinks. Okay, pretty good variety. But you also have here on the top shelf, you have a bunch of sparkling water, so that's no sugar, and you have several different varieties, several different flavors. If you go down, you see you have bottled water down there. So again, this is unsweetened, all unsweetened. If you go over here, you can see that you have a lot of tea. And the tea in Japan is not sweetened. And you can see that you have several different varieties of it. So there's a whole smorgasbord of options that you have. These are more teas up here. None of this is sweetened. So there's this whole selection that you have of drinks. You can come into any convenience store and get. And you have your coffees over here. They have both sweetened and unsweetened coffees. Okay. And then over here you have some alcohol. So it just depends on what you want. If you want something that is not sweet, then you have a lot of options for things that are not sweet. If you want something that is sweet, of course you can come and you have options for things that are sweet, which would include soft drinks and fruit juices and whatnot. But the point is that you have a variety and you have a choice that you can make. Whereas typically when you go into the United States, and you go into a convenience store, you're not going to have healthy options for drinks. So now we are back in the car. Next place I'm going to take you is 7-Eleven. I'm sure you've heard of 7-Eleven. And what you're going to find is that it's a typical convenience store, so it's going to be something similar, but I'm showing you different places once more just to emphasize the point that this is not rare in Japan. This is quite normal. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull out and let's go to 7-Eleven. Okay, so we are here, 7-Eleven. Let's go ahead and get out of the car and I'll show you the sights. So this is 7-Eleven here. Go in and let's go directly to where they have the drinks. Now you can see this is very similar to the previous convenience store. It looks almost identical. Convenience stores in Japan they compete obviously, but the business model and the look tends to be pretty much the same. So here we are again. You can see that the beverages, it's the same basic idea. You have a bunch of sweet beverages, which you can see over here, but then right next to that you have a bunch of unsweetened, much healthier beverages. Okay, so you just have, look at all these varieties of tea that are available. So if you want something that's not sweet to drink, you have all of these options. You would never see anything like this at a convenience store in the United States or in a lot of other countries for that matter. Okay, and again, just to be fair, you have certainly sweetened drinks. I'm not suggesting by any means that you don't have sweetened drinks, because you can see right here, plenty of soft drinks, plenty of things that are full of sugar, not necessarily the greatest for your health, right? But again, right next to that, they have just as many options that are quite healthy for you. Just as many options. And again, when you come over here to the coffee, you can see you have all of these different options of coffee. Some of them are sweet and some of them are absolutely no sugar at all. Now, we have arrived at Lawson, and this is going to be the third convenience store that I'm going to take you in. Again, this is a chain, so these are fairly ubiquitous throughout Japan. And I'll show you let me turn the camera around. So you can see that is the Lawson sign. Cloudy day today, but don't mind that. Weather can't be sunny every day, right? So let's go ahead and go in and see what Lawson is all about when it comes to these beverages. So again, you can see it's almost indistinguishable on the interior from the other two convenience stores. They all look almost identical. Okay, let's go over here to the beverages again. Now it looks like someone got a little bit sloppy there and knocked something over, but you can see we have our soft drinks here and plenty of them. These are all sweetened drinks. They might be tasty, but obviously not the healthiest thing. But right next to them, look at all of these unsweetened options of tea. This is all tea. There's a little bit of juice on the bottom, but you can see for the most part it is unsweetened teas, and a huge variety at that. Next to that, of course, you have your coffees, both sweetened and unsweetened. On the bottom, you have more teas and a couple soft drinks, but basically more teas. So what you will see is that in all of these convenience stores, you have a lot of options in terms of beverages, but you have healthy and unhealthy. It just depends on what you want. And this is what you don't see in the United States and many other countries for that matter. So I hope that was enlightening for you. And I want to make a point here. And it is simply that, if you are living in a country such as the United States, where you can't walk into a convenience store and find anything that is relatively healthy to drink, other than maybe just very, very basic bottled water, which, believe me, I just came back from the United States a few months ago, and I went to some convenience stores, and that was it. If there was something unsweetened, it was just basic bottled water. There were no other options. So if you are an American, or maybe you're a Canadian or Australian or British or something like that, but you live in a country where you go into a convenience store and you don't have really any options that are not sweetened, then it means that you have to be very, very intentional about seeking out healthy, unsweetened beverages that you can drink on a regular basis. Okay, so I just pulled back into my driveway here. And the reason it's so important for you to be intentional is because the food supply doesn't make it easy for you. And I had a friend who came from the United States a few months ago to visit for a few days, and he was complaining about that same thing to me. He said, I want to eat more healthfully, I want to drink more healthfully, but the food supply in the United States, it seems like, is just fighting against me tooth and nail. And this is just an illustration of that. Think about the fact that in Japan you can go to a convenience store and find a plethora of healthy drinks. Whereas in the United States, if you go to a convenience store, you pretty much expect to find all of the most unhealthy foods that you can imagine. But in Japan, it's a different concept, right? And so that's why you have to be ultra intentional about finding drinks that are unsweetened and just healthier options for you. Because in the United States and many other countries, it's so easy to find drinks that are sweetened. And, if you're drinking that stuff all the time, especially over a number of years, and you're drinking it several times per day, then it puts you at a much greater risk for diabetes and other metabolic, health conditions that you really don't want to be stuck with if you want to have a good, a fit and flourishing future, as we always talk about. And especially if you are, if you're a bit older, you can't afford to necessarily eat as much junk food and drink as many soft drinks as you did when you were younger. It just catches up with you. All that stuff that you were doing when you were younger that wasn't very healthy for you, it catches up with you over time. And now that you're older, basically just to counteract some of that damage that you've been doing over all those years, you really have to be intentional about seeking out drinks that are unsweetened. I know that when I went to the United States, one of the things that I saw was that people a lot of times would have something sweet to drink with their meals. And so if you're having something sweet to drink with your meals, and think about it, while you're eating, it's making you thirsty because you obviously at some point you need to just wash the food down your throat, then you're going to be really consuming a lot of sugar, and it's just flooding your system, and it's going to cause you insulin problems. And again, over time, if you're doing that on a regular basis and you're just accustomed to drinking sweet things all the time, and even with your meals, then you're going to put yourself on a track for diabetes. Okay, so we want to avoid that. Look, I'm not a medical doctor, or I'm not a dietitian or anything like this, but I'm just basically talking some common sense to you now. Okay, be intentional. Okay, I know that when you go to the supermarket and when you go to the convenience stores, they don't make it easy for you to find anything healthy to drink because so much of it is sweetened. I know what the challenge is. I know that a lot of times the only real option that you have is tap water, or if you go to the supermarket or the convenience store, it's just bottled water or something like that. But my point still stands. Be intentional. Pay attention to what you're drinking. Okay, and I hope that you come to Japan one day and you can get a chance to experience this and see a little bit of life in Japan, because it is very interesting. It is very different. When you go to a convenience store here, you will see kids. I mean, I see this. Kids will walk to the beverage case in Japan and they will ask for unsweetened tea. It's like the default here is different. In Japan, the default is unsweetened drinks. Whereas in other countries, especially the United States, UK and whatnot, the default is sweetened drinks. People start off with something sweet. But in Japan, it's not like that. People tend to think of unsweetened drinks first. And so that's why when you go into a convenience store or a grocery store, you see so many options of tea, and it's all different flavors and colors and everything. And you have so many different options of unsweetened sparkling water. Or if you don't want the bubbles, you can just eat plain old water. But they have like a bunch of options with different flavors. And so you just have a lot more options here. And that's one of the things that I really like about living here. But I wanted to share with you some of that experience today, just so that you get an idea and you become aware of the differences in the food supply, okay, and why you have to be hyper aware and hyper intentional about what you're putting in your body, and especially what you're drinking. Okay, so that is my message for you today. I want you to come and I want you to work with me in Japan. All right, go to www.bouncepep. Excuse me, I cannot talk well. www.bouncepep.com. And I want you to check out the Passion and Purpose Project. That is your chance to come and experience something wonderful in Japan that will change your life, okay? So go ahead, read up, and check that out. If you're interested, contact us, and then we'll see if we can work something out. With that said, I want you to take this with you. I'm going to talk to you next time.